ערב טוב, buonasera, um, good evening. I will start in Hebrew. ברוכים הבאים לכל מי שנמצא פה. שלום לכם. שלום גם לפאולו, גמבי, שמכבד אותנו הערב בנוכחות שלו. בערב הזה למעשה הוא יספר לכם על העשייה שלו ועל היצירה שלו. זה ערב במסגרת פעילות של אגודת דגש, אגודת הסופרים החדשה שקמה ופתחה את שעריה לסופרים ולמשוררים בחודשים האחרונים. We will begin with the most important matter, and I'm sure that you, Paolo, will agree with us on this. Since October 7th, there are still 100 hostages in Gaza at this very moment, some of them alive, including women and 2 children. They must return home right now, to their homeland, to their country, to their families. החטופים צריכים לחזור לביתם עכשיו, ואני מקווה מאוד מאוד שנזכה לראות אותם במהרה. So,
well, thank you very much, Eliran, and thank you to the association Dagesh. I'm very happy and thrilled to be here, and very grateful. I'm very sorry that I could not understand completely. I could not understand what you said in Hebrew, because my knowledge of Hebrew is just some old memories. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, or just some mention of the Torah. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz, but I don't go much farther, unfortunately, because I really understand that this is the most godly language that exists, and as a poet, I am very interested in languages. And so I start with a bit of sorrow for this, but at the same time, I'm very grateful to be here, because one more word that I know in Hebrew is a shalom, and I'd like to tell shalom to each of you, because this word that sounds, by the way, so similar to the Arabic word salam, reminds us that peace is really a goal that a poet and an artist should point to. But as a poet and artist, I have also a duty, and it's the only way to reach peace is through justice, and the only way to get justice is the truth. Yes, unfortunately, I live in a moment everyone can contribute a verse, and some people find the way to express these verses through poetry. And this is what I try to do in Poetry Renaissance, giving a space to everyone, whatever their religion, idea, origin, wealth, everything. Whatever it is, they should have a stage to express through poetry. And this is what I keep on doing. The original language for me is very important. I start with this, luce. Scende luce, che pace, scende luce dal cielo, non mi sembra vero. Scende luce, io ci sono, non riesco ad emettere suono. Dal cielo luce scende, il mio cuore non si difende. Dal cielo scende luce, ci entro, sono audace. Nella luce c'è un segreto, feto, di verità che verrà. Nella luce c'è un mistero, vero come l'ultimo respiro. Nella luce c'è la mia anima, cima del monte che ho dentro. C'è luce, tutto tace, pace.
That's music.
In English. Pardon?
That's music.
Yes, I strongly believe that poetry should be music, should be really music. Of course, by translating that, well, you can now grasp the meaning, but not its absence and its soul. Light. Light descends, what a peace. Light descends from the azure. It does not seem true. I'm there, the light comes down, I can make a sound. From the sky, light descends, my heart has no defense. Light from the sky descends, I step in, bold I stand. Within the light a secret lies, fatal truth that soon shall rise. Within the light a mystery, true as final breath shall be. Within the light my soul resides, summit of the mount in my insides. There is light, voices cease, peace. Technology, yeah. So for me, poetry is not dead at all. For me, poetry and poetry renaissance. It's a renaissance. We are living a renaissance, a renewal, a new birth of poetry. And I see it every day because so many people, I see people from all around the world that express themselves through poetry in all the ways, just by writing and on the paper or on the screens, but just by writing. And a lot of people experimenting new ways to make poetry through performances and through technology. And for me, this is very important because technology is like the present. I mean, we are living in a world in which we cannot ignore that we are changing. Technology is changing our bodies. In this context, I think that poetry must do its role, must experiment, and all the poets should join to understand how to do something good with technology. I started, every time we have a new big step in technology, I try to use it. For example, I was one of the first 5 in the world to mint NFT poetry when there was NFT, the non-fungible tokens. Okay. So what you see now instead is the mosaics, some of the mosaics that I did with the QR codes. They have some years old. For example, the skull on the right is in Los Angeles at the Mexican Cultural Institute. Up there is another one that was part of the Biennial of Mosaics in Ravenna, and so on. So this is a way to experiment. How can you put poetry in the mosaics through QR codes, for example?
בעצם השירים מופיעים על גבי האומנות של הפסיפס, על גבי הפסיפס באמצעות ברקוד, ואפשר לשמוע אותם.
Here is something different because it's a new way, let's say, that I have experimented, new in my sense, of course. I don't say I'm the first one to do this. These are the embedded poems on the right. This is about the 7 archangels, the angels. And that on the right is the Museo Bagatti Valsecchi in Milan, and the other one is still in Milan in another museum. Instead, on the left, you can see that's my poetical portrait. Is another thing I started to do, poetical portraits of the titular king of Rwanda. That man is the titular king of Rwanda. He's in exile in England, but he's a dear friend of mine, and so I gifted him. I paid a tribute by doing that. So at the center is I superimposed the images. I did a portrait of him, and I superimposed it to images of Rwanda, colors and patterns, and his ancestors, so the kings. But everything is framed by the verses from which everything started. Kihanga's blaze, burn in his gaze, and so on. Anyhow, I write. It's another way that on bodies. I do body painting poetry because I believe that if my motto is poetry everywhere, should be really everywhere. And so I did this. I usually do this when they invite me to the Runaways or to events connected to the fashion and so on. Here you can see some of what I've done with digital. On the left, top left, there is a digital poem I did by mixing languages. So I tried to mix English and Italian with a computer language, a programming language with the HTML. Save the world, yeah. I strongly believe that poetry can save the world. When I say that, I really mean it. And I told Eliran many times, what can we do as poets, even for this war? What can we do? And every time I ask myself this, we have to keep on doing what we do, what we are called for. We have to keep on working on the truth, on poetry, and poetry is a word that can only say the truth. I think this is crucial. Yeah, because I really think that we have a mission in life. And this mission is a call for beauty, which means truth, which means justice, which means peace at the end. What we do is, and Jon Fosse, that's why I mentioned Jon Fosse. Jon Fosse, well, he won the Nobel, so I think it is a real poet. And he has taught me a lot of things, one of which is, he says, I'm always a poet. Even when I'm writing an article in a newspaper, I cannot forget I'm a poet. And this is what I try to do. I mean, that's why I think that poetry should go beyond the idea that poets are just solitary people writing in their ebony tower, meeting no one and confronting with no one. I strongly believe that one of the ways to take poetry to the future is to experiment the way of collective poetry. It's not political. I'm not talking from a leftist point of view. I'm talking about from a perspective that is seeking to find a way to connect people. I mean, we live in a world that it has become very small. Languages divide us. Technology can help us. Why don't we experiment a way to write poems collectively in different languages, but finding ways to translate that into a comprehensible final product? Very happy. So, thank you very much, and shalom to each of you.